Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaacs speaking, keeping the seat warm for Vincent this morning. If you'd like to join us, you can call in on phone number 866-582-9933. We'd love to take your call. And Nathan is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. And we have Jay, the truck driver, on the line with us. And he's going to be our guest this morning. How are you, Jay?
Good morning, Gwyneth. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm awake. I've been driving for several hours, but I pulled into a truck stop for a little bit so that I can do the broadcast. I am in I am in Illinois, and it is a beautiful day out here. Not hardly a cloud in the sky.
Wow. That sounds really lovely. It actually sounds like a really, really good way to make a living.
It can be, but there are... truck driving is not for everybody. There are a lot of people that just cannot do this particular career. I meet a lot of people, and they tell me, I can't stay awake driving for, a half hour, much less 10 hours. So, they have a problem just driving to work.
Gosh.
You got people that, have to drive 2 hours to get to work, or, even an hour to get to work, and people say, oh, I hate driving. Well, then this would not be for you. And there's other people, they are claustrophobic, and this can be claustrophobic. I live in my truck. I have a 2014 Freightliner Cascadia, and my living quarters, you close the curtain, and my living quarters is 6.5 feet long by 5.5 feet wide. That's my living quarters. Yep,
inside the cab of the truck.
Right, in the cab of the truck. Right.
Yep.
I have a single mattress. It's 3.5 feet wide by 7 feet long, and that's what I got. This is not a lifestyle for everybody. One of the things I was, going to be talking about was, the lifestyle. Your sleeping area and how much room you actually have. I mean, I have a closet that's about 1.5 feet wide, for hanging up clothes. I have a very, very small little refrigerator. Many of us do not have microwaves, so you can cook your food. Some people some people have a 12-volt little cooking thing, where you can heat up soup, and the crock pots are very popular among truck drivers, so that they can be cooking something while they're going down the road.
Yep.
I do not have a shower in the truck. I do not have a bathroom in the truck. I do not have a sink in the truck, although there are quite a few trucks out now, and you will see them, and they're like 110 inches long, just the sleeper cab itself. And those do have bathrooms, and they have sinks, and they have microwaves, and they are very nice and very plush, and they are also very expensive. But as far as living accommodations, if I want a shower, I have to go to a truck stop to get a shower. And sometimes a shower can be very expensive. It can go anywhere from $10 to $16 or $17 for a shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Food, you gotta eat, you gotta drink. Fluids are very important out here, because you're sitting in one spot and can't really move, unless you pull over and you take a break. So you have to keep fluids on you. I have a 52-ounce mug that I keep next to me, and I usually have some lemonade or fruit punch or something like that in there. Some people like Mountain Dew or other sodas. For eating over the road can be very expensive. You eat out every day.
Yep.
A couple times a meal, you're looking at, for one person, anywhere between $7 and $8 and $15, $20, $25, depending on your meal.
Yep.
Do that, a couple times a day, every day. That adds up.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I've, incidentally, a number of years ago, my sons and I did a cross-country trip across Australia. We started we lived in Geraldton at the time, and I drove from Geraldton to Victoria, which is on the, Geraldton is almost as far west as you can get on the Australian continent, and Victoria is in the east.
Right. I have been to Australia. I've been to Perth and Fremantle. Beautiful country. I'd love to come back.
Yep. It's and something what you were saying about the price of food on the road. For one thing, the food is not of very high quality.
Right.
And for another thing, it's really, really expensive. And also, if you are driving through an arid region, I don't know that the arid areas in the United States are as big as they are in Australia, because if you're talking about from east to western Australia, you're basically talking about probably about two-thirds of the journey being through some of the most arid landscape on the face of the earth. And in that case, the water is way more expensive than the fuel.
Right.
The waters can be something like probably about, I forget how much it was, maybe $10 a gallon.
Wow.
Maybe $10, $15 a gallon for water.
Yeah, I buy a case of water, and depending on where you go, you can find water, a 24-pack for a 16-ounce bottles of water. You can find them anywhere between $6 and $7 a case, down to about $3 a case. So sometimes if you go to the supermarket, you can get it for $2 a case. But most generally, we're in between $3 and $6. And, if you're really looking to save money, you definitely want to go to the supermarket and get, the cheap water.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Except in Australia, there's large stretches of the country where there are no supermarkets.
Right.
Especially in the outback, you've only got the small stores, they're called. And then there might not be a supermarket for 1,000 kilometres sometimes. So 1,000 miles, let's say, 1,200 kilometres or whatever. Because, there's so little population out there. But, yeah, it is a really, really interesting lifestyle, being on the road. We were not in an 18-wheeler, we were in a Nissan E20. But I found myself that I can fully back you up that the driving is really, really tiring. And I would normally drive for maybe 2 hours at a time, and then I would have to have a rest after that. And I would not be able to drive for more than about 4 or 5 hours of the day, which probably I would not be able to make my living as a professional driver that way.
Like I said, I talk to a lot of people like that, and we'll continue on this right after the break.
Okie doke. Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking here. We're on the line today with truck driver Jay. Yes, Jay, you were saying before the ads about, the amount of driving that is required and, the practicalities of the driving is actually really, really, really tiring. And, one thing I noticed with the drivers in Australia, because there's a lot of trucking happens in Australia, and many of them would be driving, 15 and 18 hours of the day, and they would frequently travel, maybe 1,500 kilometres a day, and that they would have to do so in order to meet their orders, but they've got these logbooks, and, that they're supposed to put in how many hours that they drive, how many kilometres that they drive, on when they take their rest breaks, and that the police are actually on the roads and they actually check these logbooks. Do they have a similar system over there in the U.S.?
Yes, they do. We have a logbook system. There's two systems right now in effect. One allows for more leniency than the other one. You have paper logbooks and you have electronic logbooks. The electronic logbook records everything that you do from the time you start the engine until the time you shut it off. And once you start that engine and you start driving, your clock starts. You have 14 hours in order in which to get everything done. If you and within those 14 hours, you have 11 hours in which you can drive. And if you, let's say that I start my morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I drive for 2 hours to a shipper. Well, I sit there for 6 hours, okay? Well, now that's 8 hours gone, and I only have, the rest of the 14 hours, which is 4 hours in which to drive.
Wow.
Well, if I get paid by the mile, okay, I'm not getting paid to sit. Okay, now there is such thing as detention time, and detention time is for my company is $25 an hour after the first 2 hours. So I would get paid 4 hours detention time, which would be okay, but if I get paid 43 cents per mile, and in 1 hour I can do 70 miles, well, that's $35 an hour.
Yeah.
So in a way I'm making money, but at the same time I'm losing money because I could be driving.
Yeah. But the practicality of it is that the truck has to be sitting there so that it can be loaded. And depending on the freight, that can take quite some time.
Depending on the freight.
Yeah.
Now, this next subject, which goes along with the detention time and loading time and whatnot, this, I don't know if they do this in Australia, but here in America, this should piss off every single American. All right? And we're coming up on the break, so I will continue this right after the break.
Yep, no, that's fine. We'll look forward to hearing from you then. We're at the bottom of the hour break. We'll be back in just a moment. Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking, keeping the seat warm for Vincent today. Vincent should be back tomorrow. And we have truck driver Jay with us. And we're talking trucking. And we were talking about, the number of miles that truck drivers have to put in and how this is monitored with logbooks and the practicalities of trucking. And I think that we were talking about loading and unloading as well. Would you like to continue?
Yes, I would. Okay. As I was saying, there is a part about the loading and unloading part that I believe that most of America has no clue about. Now, as I said, if you're an American, this next topic should just absolutely piss you off because it is raising.
We've got to not use bad language on the radio.
Okay.
It
should upset.
It should really annoy you.
It should upset every single American. There's this thing called a lumper fee. Okay. Now, a company like Walmart orders a truckload of watermelon. Okay. And I pick it up in Florida, and I take it all the way up to Massachusetts. Massachusetts, I get there, and Walmart is wanting a fee to offload their product.
Oh, you're joking.
They ordered it, they bought it, but they want to charge a price, and in Massachusetts, which is the highest place I have been to, $350
unload your truck.
To unload the truck.
$350 to unload the truck.
$350 American dollars to offload the truck. Now, that cost gets the person offloading the truck does not get that money. That money goes to the company. Now, they pay this lumper, this worker, maybe $10, $11, maybe $12 an hour to work, well, it may only take him 45 minutes to an hour to offload my truck. Okay.
Wow.
Where's that rest of that money going to? That's going to the company. And the Walmart, they'll have 150 doors. They're offloading trucks all day long, and
each
how much
one of them,
money?
they're charging the trucking companies. I take it. The trucking companies are getting charged $350 for every truck to be offloaded.
Right. Well, the way that it works is, Walmart buys this load, or Kroger or Albertsons or Target, they put in an order. And that order goes onto a computer network, and a broker gets on that board, sees, hey, this load needs to be picked up and delivered to here. So the broker then gets a hold of a dispatcher for a trucking company, or the dispatcher will get a hold of the broker and then say, okay, we have a truck available, we'd like to pick up this load, and, it's going here. And the load is made per mile. It is charged per mile. It can be $1 a mile. It can be $3 a mile. It can be $4 a mile. It can be even as much as $8 a mile, depending on how expensive the load is, how valuable the load is, how long, how many miles the trip is. If the trip is just 200 miles, it probably is not going to pay that much. But if you have a military contract where you are transporting a couple of Humvees 2,000 miles, you're looking, at pretty decent money. But I haul a reefer, a refrigerated van trailer, and some loads, frozen chicken, frozen beef, frozen pork, refrigerated vegetables, fruit. If it needs to be refrigerated, I've probably hauled it. I've put other things in this trailer. I've put mud. I've put gravel. I've had cardboard. Whatever it is that you buy when you go to the store, whatever it is that you buy, a truck brought it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what it is. Fuel, gasoline, kerosene, makeup, shirts, pants, socks, underwear. A truck brought it. Cars. Now, here in America, we have a railway system, and they can transport a large number of vehicles from California to Florida. But once it gets to Florida, it has to go onto a truck to get to the auto dealerships. So pretty much anything and everything you can think of to buy
had to get on a truck.
Right. Now, there was Vincent had brought up a topic, about, I'm just going to kind of change direction a little bit here. Vincent had talked about hostile states and states that are friendly towards truck drivers.
Oh, yes.
There are some states in the United States that are very friendly to truck drivers. There are other states that are very hostile towards truck drivers.
Would there be regions as well where the police are just known to be very, very aggressive?
California.
And California, because around here, 100% of the police are really, really hostile, aggressive, nasty people who are basically operating an extortion racket. And you know, I've sat in the court and listened to this truck driver that they absolutely raked across the coals because he had just a couple of 100 kilograms too many live chickens on his truck. He worked for a chicken grower, and they raked him across the coal because and he would have short journeys every day. Okay. And his job was to cart live chickens, and the chickens would get put on his truck, and they would go to the abattoir, which was also owned by the chicken grower, just down the road, and then he would turn his vehicle around and then drive back to the farm, pick up another load of live chickens, turn around, and, you know, head back to the abattoir. And this is like the 4 or 5 week old commercial meat chickens that you get.
Right.
Yeah, and it was maybe, the abattoir was maybe like 15 kilometres, maybe about 10 miles from the farm. And he was doing this journey along this road every day. And this particular cop, he was probably about 300 kilograms, 1 to 300 kilograms overweight is absolutely nothing. Okay?
Right.
But he got absolutely raked over the coals for having 300 kilograms too many chickens on his vehicle. And basically he got fined some astronomical sum. And yet, just down the road from there, by just down the road, I mean probably about 50 miles down the road from there, in 2016, this is a different police district, but similarly corrupt. I was driving from a roadhouse where I'd had a coffee and checked some emails, and I was planning to go to the supermarket, and which was a journey of maybe, a mile from the roadhouse to the supermarket. And there's actually a film of this online. I captured it on dashcam, fortunately, and I basically indicated to turn to the right, and what happened was as I pulled out to turn to the right, because we drive on the left in this country, remember, as I turned out to pull to the right, an 18-wheeler attempted to overtake me on the right, on a double line, at an intersection at a railway crossing.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. So we'll say what happened to the truck driver and to myself after the break. Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking here, keeping the seat warm for Vincent today. Vincent should be back tomorrow. We have truck driver Jay with us. And we were talking about an accident that I had with an 18-wheeler. It T-boned me in 2016. And I mentioned that we drive on the left in this country. He attempted to overtake me on the right after I had indicated to turn to the right at a railway crossing, at an intersection, and then what's more, after he had T-boned me, he tried to claim that I had actually indicated to turn to the left. And he actually filed a perjurious affidavit with the police to that effect, despite the fact that I had dash cam footage, which certainly proved otherwise. Now, the local police know me and don't like me because I've previously stood up to them because locally they're running a sex racketeering scam, okay?
Right.
Where they load people up, usually single mothers, with huge fines. I'm talking about maybe $800 a pop, $850 a pop for not having a seatbelt or a lapsed registration, okay? And then they'll let that, they'll drop the fine if that woman provides an evening's entertainment for, one of the officers or some of the officers. And the word is around town that they're not gentle in their entertainment. That they actually, the word is that they actually are raping these women. And because I spoke out about it, they basically tried to throw the book at me. Because I had dash cam footage of the whole crash, they failed. And from what I gather, basically that the case was thrown out. But guess what happened to that 18-wheeler prime mover driver? What was that, sorry?
Yeah, the truck driver. I guess he just got off. Nothing happened.
Well, he was given a small fine.
Ah.
I don't know how much the fine was even, because he crossed a double line. No overtaking zone.
Right.
What should have happened to him if all was just and fair?
What should have happened was he probably should have lost his license and gotten
he should have been nailed to the wall. In other words, yeah.
Well, here in America, if that happened, if the driver is wrong, the few things will happen. One, he's going to get a ticket. Two, he may lose his license. Three, he's probably going to lose his job. And there'll be restitution and whatnot. But I understand.
Yeah, and would it matter? Normally, if the person that he hit, would it normally matter if their registration had lapsed as well? Would that affect the penalty normally for the truck driver? Or would he get the same penalty?
I don't know. I don't know. And
if the registration had lapsed, but if there was otherwise nothing wrong with the person's driving,
right,
had been T-boned, it's just like that. They may be poor, can't afford the rego.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll talk about that some more when we get back from the news.
Yep.
Yeah, unless you wanted to comment just quickly now.
Well, if you want me for another hour, I'm still available.
Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking here. Sitting in today for Vincent. Vincent should be back tomorrow. And we have on the line truck driver Jay, and we were discussing basically bad departments and how they can really make your life hell as a truck driver. I was mentioning about how in June of 2016 I was actually T-boned by an 18-wheeler, and what would normally happen if a vehicle was T-boned by an 18-wheeler that was going maybe 30 or 40 miles an hour? What would normally happen to that vehicle?
Well, for that low of a speed, even at that speed, a 18-wheeler, and you have to remember, just a regular load here in the United States, I can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That is my, that is the freight, that is me, everything I have in the truck, the fuel, the refrigeration unit on the trailer, that's everything all together. The tires, the engine, that's everything all together. I can weigh no more than 80,000 pounds. Empty,
yep.
Just empty with full fuel tanks, I weigh about 36,500 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now a flatbed trailer, will probably weigh less because they just have less,
I think that this was actually, because it's a mining area, not very far from a gold mine, I think this was an ore carrier. Okay, I'm not sure of the proper name for them, but, it was the type of truck that would normally be loaded with ore to carry ore from the mine to a refinery. Okay.
Right.
And I was driving a 1-ton Isuzu farm truck.
Yeah.
That was the vehicle that I was driving. Yeah, a light commercial type Isuzu farm truck. And I'll tell you the damage to me. I was to my vehicle, damage to the driver's side door, broken rear tail light, broken steering arm, actually smashed steering arm, and what else? Dented front panel. So I think, and for myself, basically I was in shock and had a minor whiplash, and I drove that vehicle 40 kilometres, about 30 miles home. And
here in the United States, I don't know how the Australian truck drivers are trained. Here in the United States, there is a very high sense of safety, and I am on alert the continual time I am behind the road, as to where other vehicles are in relation to me. I'm trying to look as far down the road as I can, see if there's going to be any kind of hazards, coming up, Like I said, I can, and as soon as I fill up my fuel tanks, I will weigh 80,000 pounds. I do not want to get into an accident. I do not want to hurt anybody or anything. I do not want to kill anybody. However, I have the potential to.
Yes.
If a driver is not paying attention, they can and often do, hasn't personally happened to me, however, it is on many dash cams of people just swerving in front of a truck and getting rear-ended, getting T-boned, people driving into the side of the tires of a truck. If, like I said, I don't want to. I really don't.
It would spoil your day. It really would.
I just want to get my load from point A to point B safely. You know,
Yeah.
And I've consistently seen over and over again, personally, people who, okay, I'm coming up on an exit. Okay, here we drive on the right side of the road. I'm coming up on an exit. Instead of the person just following behind me and then, taking the exit, this person passes me, cuts in front of me, and then takes the exit.
That's really, really dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
Because, with a vehicle that size, you've got enormous blind spots. You really have.
Right, and I cannot stop on a dime. I cannot stop quickly.
Yep, that's the truth of it. Well, that 18-wheeler, that prime mover, that T-boned me last year. Before he T-boned me for about a half a mile, pretty well went. I was giving him lots of room. I was pulled out from the roadhouse. He came up quite fast behind me, within a few hundred meters after I'd left the roadhouse. Came up fast behind me and actually sat on my rear so close that I actually could not see his headlights in my rear vision mirror.
Wow.
And I wanted to really, really get out of his way. And so I gave him plenty of notice that I wanted to move by indicating to turn to the right. And, like I said, he tried to overtake me on the right after I'd indicated to turn to the right on a double line. In the US, it would be a double yellow line. Here, it's a double white line. Same thing. Right. On a railway line at an intersection. And, if I hadn't fought that thing tooth and nail for almost a whole year, the police would have put the blame of the whole thing on me. And that's absolutely disgusting. And I think that he should have had the book thrown at him, basically,
Right.
Because I could have been killed. Even though I was not in a tin can of a vehicle, I think that it's still a strong possibility that I could have either been killed or been seriously injured. Do you think that's possible with me driving a 1-ton truck and being hit by a 18-wheeler, which in all probability did weigh 80,000 pounds?
Right.
Do you think that's... I certainly think it's possible. I think that I had God's guardian angels looking after me that night just to get home.
I believe so, too. The good Lord was definitely looking out for you. Here in the United States, if a person, a truck driver hits another vehicle, hits, whatever, the company, or if the person is an owner-operator, he is liable for the damages for that vehicle,
Yeah.
And like I said, I can weigh up to 80,000 pounds. I am about 70 foot long. I am 10 foot, I'm 9 foot wide. I'm 13.5 foot high. I do not do fender benders. I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
I can cause a lot of damage, and I don't want to, but I can kill somebody. I don't want to.
No.
Please,
Absolutely
people,
not.
Give truck drivers room. Do not crowd them. Do not drive right next to us. If you cannot see my mirror,
and if you can get out of the way of a vehicle of that size, it's a very, very good idea to do so, especially if he is in such close proximity to you.
Yes.
but give lots and lots of notice of what you're going to do with your indicators. And, basically be aware that the guy might have been driving, probably has been driving for a while. And I don't know how much of a problem this is in the United States, but apparently it's quite common here. They shouldn't do so, but often they do use drugs for various purposes, mostly to stay awake. And these can include amphetamines.
Yes. Like I said,
they're not supposed to, but they do.
Yeah. And that is a very good topic, but it sounds like the music's starting.
Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking, sitting in today for Vincent. And we have a truck driver, Jay, with us, and we're discussing trucking in America and in Australia. And, we were mentioning that of how big and how heavy a prime mover is, and, that maybe the person behind the wheel is tired. Maybe they have been taking some sort of a substance to try and keep themselves alert. Is that a big problem in the United States?
It is not really a big problem. You do hear about it from time to time. One of the previous companies I've been with, two of our drivers that were getting a lot of miles in per week, they both were on methamphetamines and cocaine and whatnot. And there was a story last year about a truck driver that drove from Seattle, Washington to Boston, Massachusetts, over 3,000 miles, nonstop. He just stopped to get fuel, maybe get something to eat, but he was high on methamphetamines and cocaine, and he he was just gacked out of his mind. And the only reason that they suspected him of anything was he locked himself out of his truck. And
oh, dear me!
The truck stop that he was at, they called the cops, and the guy admitted that he was on drugs, and so going 3,000 miles nonstop, it doesn't. You don't hear about it very often. You don't hear about very much of truck drivers being drunk behind the wheel. I mean, because we're just trained that you don't do that. I don't know. But every now and then you do hear about something crazy like that. And the regulations in truck driving are becoming more and more and more strict all the time on how much you can do in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Used to be, you worked 8 on, you took 8 hours off, and then it changed to 10 hours on and 8 hours off, and now it's you can drive for 11 hours, with a 14-hour clock, and then you have to take 10 hours off. And those are the regulations now, and I don't know if they're going to be changing any more. I imagine they are, and with the December 18th of this year, if you do not have a truck that is 1999 or older, you will have a electronic logging device in your truck connected directly to the electronic control module in the truck, and you will log everything that you do. And if you run out of driving time before you run out of your 14-hour window, well, you need to shut down, and that's going to just cause so many problems because
that's going to cause havoc.
Yes.
You know, so what? The machine will automatically shut down your truck. After
some
14 hours.
Some companies have that feature, but at the same time, you know, that can
That's
also
probably not very safe.
No, especially if you're going 70 miles an hour, you know, 5 miles an hour down the interstate, and you all of a sudden shut
your
off.
engine cuts out.
Right.
Because that provides a lot of the braking control as well, doesn't it? Hello, everybody. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking, keeping the seat warm for Vincent today. Vincent should be back tomorrow. And we've got truck driver Jay on the line, and we were talking about, trucking and, truck drivers who maybe do the wrong thing, truck engines, what I wanted to ask was the braking systems on these trucks, as I gathered, they're often linked to the engine actually being running. So if you don't have the engine running, then that interferes with the braking system. Is that right?
No. The brakes are controlled by air and air compression. Okay, they are not hydraulic like a car or a pickup truck. A car or pickup truck, you step on that brake, immediately the vehicle starts to slow down. It is not so with a big truck. A big truck uses air brakes. And for air to travel the 60-foot, or 55-foot from the air compression reserve chamber to the brakes, it takes, just a little bit. It doesn't take a long time, but it does take a good half second for the air to travel to the brake chamber, especially on the trailer, on the front, the steering tires and the drive tires, it takes considerably less time, but it takes a little while to get back to the trailer, and the mechanism for the brakes also takes, just a fraction of a second. So the reaction time between when I see that you, in front of me, you hit your brakes, well, the time that it takes for me to see it and to react and, to push down on the pedal and for the brakes to engage, that can take a full second.
Mm-hmm.
So, it can take a second, it can take up to 2 seconds, depending on what is going on. There is a Facebook group called Twisted Truckers. If you go on there, there's a video right at the top of the page. You have to scroll down just a little bit, but there's a video of the truck. He is in the left-hand lane, and a car comes over 2 lanes and slams on the brakes right in front of the truck, and the truck just,
Wow. He's got no time to react.
Right. He had no time to react. So he hits this car and really does a lot of damage. But it's caught on dash cam. So, of course, the driver was not charged. But that car is totaled because of this person's stupidity.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask, by the way, I love dash cams. I think that they're absolutely great for bringing out the truth in motoring.
Right.
And if I was driving a motor vehicle now, there's no way that I would drive a motor vehicle without having a dash cam plugged in.
Right.
They only cost about, in Australia here, they cost maybe $80 to $100. And that's absolutely nothing compared to the worry, the expense, or whatever. If somebody from a bad police department tries to pin something on you that was absolutely not your fault, especially around here because they are so knowingly corrupt. But the other thing I wanted to ask, if you lose engine power in a vehicle of that size, I know driving, for instance, let's say a Mitsubishi Magna sedan, okay? They have power steering, and, the braking, is that affected if you lose engine power suddenly in a truck?
I have, I also have power steering in this truck. A lot of the older, we're talking 1995, 1990 and older trucks do not have power steering. I know a lot of ones, in the 1980s, 1970s, back that far, they do not have power steering. And they have a lot bigger of a steering wheel, too. They have about a 25-inch steering wheel. I have an 18-inch steering wheel. The one in your car is about a 13-inch. So, you have this...
Because it's a big vehicle.
Yeah, one that is that old, okay, if I'm driving down the road and I all of a sudden lose power, my engine shuts off, one, I'm going to slow down a whole lot because of the fact that I am still in gear. Two, the power steering goes out. So it's going to be very hard for me to steer the vehicle and get it off of the road safely. It can be done, but it's just going to be very difficult. And if you're in a small vehicle and you are driving right next to me, that is not a very good place to be.
No. And, oh gosh, that's really, really interesting to know. I suspected that probably would be the case, of knowing how power steering works and just wondering if a lot of modern trucks actually had power steering. Now, if you were talking about a truck that didn't have power steering, would they be easier to control if there was an engine fault and you lost engine power suddenly? Would they be easier to get off the road in an emergency?
That's a really good question, and I don't know. I'll be truthful. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's still a very, very big vehicle. And, not having any control over the engine, it must have some, impact on you being able to control the whole vehicle.
Right. Now, Vince had asked me another question about roads and road conditions.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
There are, there's quite a few roads that are that states that have very good roads, Kentucky, Tennessee, Wyoming is getting a lot better. Iowa, Nebraska, that have very good roads. California, by far, has got the absolute worst roads in the entire nation. And
Wow.
They have this agenda to take care of the illegal aliens. So the money that is made, from taxes and whatnot, instead of them spending it on fixing the roads,
it goes down the black hole of supporting people who shouldn't be supported.
Right. And
oh, dear me. What a mess.
The next state next to them is Indiana. Indiana has just some horrible roads. But most other states in the country, Texas has some absolutely awesome roads. They're continually working on them. Utah has terrific roads. They're even during the winter, Utah is on. They're on the ball, and they keep the roads clean and clear. Of course, there are times when the snow just comes down too fast, and they have to close the roads. But you generally have a good warning system. They have signs over the roads that say, roads closed. No traffic whatsoever. Not even a four-wheel drive can get down this road. So they just close off the road, and you have to get off of the road. And
turn around if you can.
Well, that or you just stop. Stop at a rest area, truck stop, whatnot. But we were talking about states that were friendly to trucks and states that were hostile towards trucks. California is one of the worst states for truck drivers, mainly because of the state of the roads and the legality of how much weight and your weight distribution and also how fast the truck can go. California has a speed limit of 55 miles an hour.
Hello, everyone. This is Gwyneth Isaac speaking, sitting in for Vincent today. And we have a truck driver, Jay, with us. And we were talking about the conditions of roads. And one thing that I would like to comment is I've noticed that in areas of economic hardship, roads are one of the first things that tends to be neglected. And it doesn't take very long for the bitumen to get the daylights hammered out of it, especially if there's a lot of heavy traffic going across that particular motorway. And given, if we went into a severe collapse, depression scenario, what do you think would happen to the state of the roads and to the state of trucking in those circumstances? And what's the impact of the truck, on the truck, of having to constantly negotiate really, really poor roads? And where the road menders seem to have no skill.
The last time I went into California, I got over some really bad roads, and I got back to Iowa, and I had to have a front end alignment done because the alignment had been shaken loose, should we say.
Oh, wow.
And for a truck, now, there's also another aspect of truck driving, and that is cost of repairs and upkeep. The tires for a car, maybe $100. For a truck, you're looking at $250, $300, possibly $400, depending on brand of tire and what position tire, that you're looking for. Now, a truck tire can go for 100, 150,000 miles, easy, but they will wear out very quickly if your alignment is not right. And,
that's right.
On a truck. And the vibration from all the bumps and potholes and everything, you feel it. I have an air ride seat, which means that the chair goes up and down with bumps, and it cushions it, but you still feel it. A car, pickup truck, you're not going to feel it as much because you have a lot better suspension than I do. Now, me weighing 80,000 pounds, it does make a big difference. I get actually a smoother ride being loaded than I am empty, but you got to remember now, I am driving for about 10 to 11 hours a day. Maybe if you're making short trips, you can only drive 8 hours, 6 or 8 hours, but you're doing this every day. It takes a toll on the body.
Yeah. I was going to say the jarring on your body would actually be considerable, and you would have to take account of that as well. And one thing that I know is that a lot of truck drivers here in Australia, they actually buy properties along their regular routes, and they actually park their trucks there on their own land, and and they have their time out and their rest and recreation, even just for the purpose of having somewhere where they're not out in public, where they're actually on their own place and some sense of home.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if they do that in the US, but we're actually at the end of the broadcast.
Yeah, how about that?
It's 2 hours. Yeah. It's been great speaking with you, Jay.